So I'll start now. Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of the Career Clinic with me, Gráinne Hallahan, and my special guest, Sonia Gill. Now, Sonia has a very impressive track record in supporting head teachers to create genuinely outstanding schools. She doesn't focus on the Ofsted framework, and yet the schools she supports are far more likely to achieve outstanding than those who don't. So Sonia is a qualified teacher who has taught children of all ages from reception to 16 and was selected to join the prestigious John Lewis Leadership Programme, where she led a number of multi-million-pound business areas at John Lewis. She's a speaker at educational events, and she's also the author of a #1 ranked Amazon book, Successful Difficult Conversations in Schools and Journey to Outstanding. And I first met Sonia because I had several friends who'd read her book and told me that she was a wonderful person and I had to interview her. She's also supported many aspiring leaders successfully interview for their next position. So tonight's topic is all about applying for your first leadership post. And you can send your questions in to us live, but we've got a few from Twitter already that we're going to start with. So thanks for joining me, Sonia.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So question 1. This came through as an email, and the teacher's asking about an assistant principal job. So she says, I want to apply for an assistant principal job, but I don't feel my school are very supportive. And she feels this because she's asked to be trained on wider school management, but she's still not had any training. And that's possibly COVID's fault, but she sort of gets the sense that they're not being supportive to her in a more active way. Like, they say they're supportive, but they're not following it up with actual training. She says, what sort of things can she do over the next year to get ready for an assistant principal interview without the support of her school, or expecting her school not to be very supportive? And I should also add that at the moment she's working as a head of year.
Okay, that's really useful to know. Great. So I think whenever we're going for the next level up, a job promotion, what people are looking for is for greater breadth of impact. That's always the key thing as we're moving up. So head of year to assistant principal to vice principal to principal. So I think there are a few things. I wouldn't quite give up on the school yet. I might wait a little bit because it could be COVID related.
Things are really tricky at the moment, aren't they?
I mean, look, this week schools have been wondering who is going to be in, who isn't going to be in with the new lockdown. There's a lot on, and there's just not as much headspace as we might like. No. And I mean, schools are busy anyway. They just got a lot busier with the pandemic, didn't they? I'm sure you've seen that a lot, haven't you? So I think maybe post-Christmas, something to go back to and to think about to the school leadership team are some very specific areas that this person feels they can add value. So instead of kind of asking for the generic, almost, can you help me skill up? Can you help me get wider skills? Think about, okay, if I was at the next level, in this case, assistant principal, what kind of things could I be involved in? And where is there an area that actually I could really get involved in, enjoy it, and really demonstrate great impact? And go with something quite specific or a couple of specific things and say, I would love to get this thing to there. And that means that they don't have to do as much thinking around what could we do, how do we support you, because you've given it on a plate. So half the battle's won. Does that make sense?
Oh, I think that makes perfect sense. And it's all about that, really, like you said, being specific about a very certain thing. It's lovely that she's asked to have training on wider school areas, and wider school management, but she needs to be really clear in her mind as to what she wants to be trained on. Is it more training in how to analyze data or tracking student progress, or what is it about an assistant principal role that she feels there's the gap in her knowledge at the moment? Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely say be really specific, and like you say, don't give up on your school just yet. COVID has thrown lots of things out of the loop. I would recommend, if you were promised this training, to go back to your line manager and just follow it up and just say, I'd really like to have this. And now, with the advice that we've given, perhaps make it more specific. And if they're not forthcoming with the training, really push for this certain area that you want to be trained in and see if that bears fruit. But it's hard when you're making that step up. I think the step up into the senior leadership team is the biggest jump. Going from classroom to head of department is a much more, like, you've seen that role in action so much more than what SLT do. So much of it is invisible.
Absolutely right. And, you know, the kind of level of decisions that you're going to have to make at SLT level are very, you know, like I say, they're invisible. You don't see them, but you see everything that goes on behind them. So I agree, it's a really big step. Yeah.
So much of what SLT do is shielding you, and shields teachers and middle leaders. Absolutely. Because they're dealing with stuff so you don't have to.
Yeah, and it's taking those hits as well. You know, I mean, no, I think it may sound like senior leadership's an awful thing to do, but actually the rewards are you can have a bigger impact, and you want to have a bigger impact, and it's driven by that passion, desire to more. But you're right, you're going to take a lot of stuff that when you're not in that position, you don't necessarily realise how much SLT are doing to reduce the impact on the wider team.
And you might think that you have more say over stuff than what you actually end up having say over. I mean, we've talked about this before, haven't we? About how when you are SLT, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's more about managing people, making sure you've got the right people making the right decisions, less saying, I've got this great idea, I'm going to roll it out across the school, because it really doesn't work like that. And I think teachers, we know this, but I think we always have that hope that the higher up you go, the more you can influence, and it just doesn't necessarily tally up like that. Okay, question 2. Oh, this is a long one. Okay. There's a lot of context to this one.
I'm listening.
So he says, I've just started at a new school last September. So not this September, previous September. And it's their second year this September as a deputy head of department in science after teaching PE and science in my first school for 8 years. As science isn't my subject specialism, I was worried about taking the deputy position and originally had only applied to be a classroom teacher. Since they've started, he's found he's actually had to do the head of department jobs for him, as he is only NQT 1+1 himself, and he's moved into teaching after working for a pharmaceutical company. So even though he's not a science specialist, knows a lot more about the mechanics of schools and exams than the current head of department. Downside, work is really stressful, but really enjoying it, and has realised that he is ready to be head of department, having effectively done it for the last 3.5 terms.
Yeah,
I really feel for this guy, because you can hear it's really, really fun doing this guy's job. But and a plus, great experience, and he's realised that he is ready to be head of department. However, he's only been there for 3 terms and missed the end of the last term because of coronavirus, and this first term we're only halfway through, so 3.5 terms so far. And he's worried that it's too soon to move on and start applying elsewhere. The head of department's not going anywhere, so it's going to need to look at other schools. However, when he spoke to the head teacher was really keen for him to stay, and has offered to do this teacher to do an MPQSL, and has suggested that he applies for an assistant head job that will be coming up soon. However, he would ideally like to be head of department before he did assistant head teacher. What should he do? Does he stay because he likes the school, or look elsewhere to be head of department?
If only there was an easy answer to this. It's a real challenge, isn't it?
I think you and I are going to differ on this one. So you tell me what you think, and then I'm going to say what I think.
Okay. Well, so actually, what I'm actually going to suggest is, because I don't know what the right answer is, and I've been in this position myself when I was, working at John Lewis, when I was a teacher, and there are so many variables that come into play. Mm-hmm. So one, you like the school, but the promotion opportunity isn't there. When's it going to be there? I'm doing that role already. They're offering me MPQSL, hold, but actually, the assistant head role's coming up, and that might be successful, but then wants a hod post next. And then there's variables in life as well that you're trying to factor in. And I'm actually going to recommend a coaching technique, which is brilliant. It's really beautifully simple, and it is just the best when you're making these tough decisions. So you're going to love this. And anytime you've got a decision that you're really wrangling with and you can write all your pros and cons out, just try this. And that is, think of a point in time that if you were to make this decision, within the next month or so, and it was to happen, just fast forward to a point in time where you would be able to look back and know whether it was a good decision. So say, for example, that this person made the decision, and even if it was just in their mind, by the end of this calendar year, and then January, they either applied and got a hod post, or they applied and got an assistant head post. So we might say, well, actually, Christmas 2021 might be a good time to look back and think, was it the right decision? You can do this with a friend. You can just video yourself if you want to, but literally go into one of those worlds first of all and go, right, it's December 2021 and I got the assistant heads post. And then just talk about what the last year's been about. Stop the video, get up, walk around. If you can, sit somewhere else, do the same thing. But I went to another school, a hod post came up, etc., etc. Couple of minutes, watch both of them back, but watch them without the sound. Because your non-verbal body language will tell you everything you need to know. Always does. I do this with people, and afterwards I say to them, like, tell me what your reflections are. And they sit there going, I really don't know. But what I saw was, and it's like, you were animated and alive on this one, but you were flat on that one, because it was, that kind of real, and I did this and I did that. And I got the job, and, it's been fine. But to watch it without the sound,
face tells the different story.
You don't need to hear the words. The body language does it all. So that's not an answer as to which one, because I can't tell you which one, but there's a technique there that I would really it's a bit weird, but when you do it once, you'll see the power of it.
So you're so much more diplomatic than I am.
I can't make that decision for someone. What would you say they should do?
So they interviewed as classroom teacher and they gave them a deputy head of department. There's a head of department in place who, by this teacher's judgment, has possibly been over promoted. They've only been deputy head of department for 4 terms at this school, and they're saying apply for an assistant head teacher role. They like the school. They like the challenge. Great. You'll like any school. You'll like any challenge. I'd leave that school. That would be my advice. And I know it's really brutal, but in my opinion, I think you'd be better looking at a different school, be head of department. I think, what's the word? Leapfrogging over really important steps on that ladder. It's hard. You need to be a middle leader before you're a senior leader. And I would say go and be head of department at a different school.
I like it. But I think your logic's really sound.
I think, but you probably need to do your thing too. I'm too much like, no, you had to already do your head of department's job, assistant head job. Oh yeah, they'll promise that for once a month. I'm being much more cynical. I'd go and find somewhere really lovely. And it's such, what's influenced me on this? The fact it's science. Your subject specialism is so important. You're a science teacher. You teach secondary.
Yeah, you're gold.
Go where you want. Don't wonder they're offering you assistant head. Of course they're offering you assistant head. Go to a different school, cut your teeth as a head of department. See if you like being head of department. See if you like being a leader, because it's not a foregone conclusion, is it? Like, some people go into teaching and just love teaching and love being head of department. You don't have to do every single rung on that ladder. You can get as high as you want and stop. But jumping over a really important rung on that ladder, you might find that when you go to apply to a different school, they might start questioning why you've never been head of department. So yeah, do Sonia's thing though.
But listen to Gronya's advice as well. So you got 2 angles there. Seriously, Gronya, if you ever have anyone, you've got a tough decision to make, just do that. It'll take you all of 5 minutes. It's so powerful.
going to use that one.
Do.
Right. Question 3. Oh, we'll appreciate this one. Someone's currently on mat leave, and on Friday, so Friday just gone, they had an email about a head of department internal position. She'd really like to apply, but she's still going to be on mat leave when she starts, when the post starts. So if she was successful, she'd be on mat leave at the time that the post needs you to start. Does that rule her out?
That's a great question. The challenge of being a woman on maternity leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an employment law expert, so I would have put that filter on there. But my understanding is that you shouldn't be at any disadvantage in terms of promotions, pay rises, opportunities because you're on mat leave. And I work very closely with a really wonderful employment solicitor, and she's a great advocate of, you know, the rights of, and bear in mind we're on shared parental leave now, so the rights of any parent who is looking after their children and you know, having their children and raising them. So as far as I'm aware, you should be allowed to apply. The fact that you're on mat leave shouldn't come into it. If you weren't successful, I would definitely, I always say ask for feedback after an interview, but a bit like that first question, Gwanya, I think quite often interview feedback's quite weak. There was a better candidate. Oh, you didn't have enough experience. And that's where, again, I get really specific and say, look, I'd like to ask a follow-up, you know, what strengths did the candidate have that I didn't, or what were my weaknesses relative to the other candidate? Like, drill into this. We need good feedback to do better.
You're letting your interviewer know that you'll welcome the feedback.
Exactly.
Some people don't want to hear feedback, but you really do want to hear your feedback. So make sure it's clear to them. You don't just want to hear platitudes. You're quite happy to have proper feedback.
Absolutely. And the other side, the other thing with that, and having that proper feedback, and you're right, not everybody wants it. They just want to kind of walk away when it's done. But if you did smell a rat and you thought, hang on a minute, I haven't been given this opportunity because I'm going to be on mat leave, then there won't be solid feedback coming back for you. I really would hope that's not the case. But if you didn't get it, you'd want to know there was for really genuine reasons that the other person was stronger and they did deserve to get it, and that's it. But I don't know if you know, I expect you've probably come across questions like this in the past, Grania, around mat leave. And
yes, we've got some nice blogs on this.
Ooh.
So if you I didn't write the originals, but I have gone through them recently and checked them up to date, and we have an employment lawyer who's given her advice as well. So you can have a look on the careers advice section of tes.com, and they've got all you need to know about maternity leave. And on there, it explains how, yes, you can apply. That's why you've been sent the email. They want you to apply if you want to apply. So you can, and it doesn't matter that you'll be on maternity leave when the post starts. That shouldn't come into it. And good luck. Fingers crossed. Yeah, exciting. Yeah. And I think it's such a great experience applying for jobs. It really helps you reflect on who you are as a teacher and what you need to develop in. It's always good to apply for an internal post. It's nice because it's people you know interviewing you. So it's a really good experience applying for jobs. Okay, question 4. This teacher says, I'm not the most conventional teacher, think tattoos, etc. And this has never been a problem at my school. I've been here since I was an NQT. I've got an interview on Wednesday, and my colleagues at work have asked if I am going to cover up my tats. I said no, but now I'm wondering, as it is a TLR role, if I should. What do you think?
So I think it really depends what kind of school you want to work in. You know, do you want to cover up your tats or do you not? And what's more important to you then? Also, you know, is it being who you are and being allowed to be who you are and not shy away from that? Or is actually the TLR more important, in which case you don't mind compromising that? But it's one of those, like, I think I'd probably think, well, actually, I think my tats are fine. The school I'm in think they're fine. And I love the etc. I'm quite curious about think tattoos, etc.
I think piercings.
Piercings is where I went to as well. Yeah.
Ooh, it must be piercings. Must be.
That's what I'd imagine.
Maybe like, hang on, flesh holes?
Could be. Yeah. The flesh holes, flesh tunnels.
Yeah.
Purple hair. Yeah. I think, yeah, I think just what kind of school do you want to be in? Do you want to be able to do that and feel comfortable? And you have been already, so you know what that's like to get to be you, you know, and be a successful teacher, I'm assuming. I'd still dress professionally, don't get me wrong. If I'm going for an interview, I'm still going to dress for an interview. But that's as far as I'd take it. You know, I wouldn't go in a tank top and a mini skirt for myself personally. You know, that wouldn't work. I don't wear those things anyway. But
you've got to wear what you would normally wear, but your smartest outfit, because that's what we do for interviews. And I would always recommend that you don't wear something that enters the room before you do.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. Well, you're more mesmerised by what somebody else is, what they're actually wearing, than you are by them. It's like that's the wrong balance. So I agree with you. Like a smarter version of what you typically wear.
Yeah, on general like interview clothes tips, I would always say wear something that has a colour so that it's easy for them to talk about you afterwards. Like, oh, the one with the red tie or the silver brooch, like something that will differentiate you from everybody else, just because it's handy. But I was always the one with the weird name, surely.
I mean, cool variations all this. Yeah.
I remember the job that I got, my NQT job. I was so appreciative of the fact that everybody had looked up how to say my name before I started.
It's really important, actually, isn't it?
Just for the interview. Like, how nice is that?
Yeah. But I think that's equally important when we're being interviewed. I remember getting an interview once. I can't remember the name, but it was a name I'd never come across. And this is a great thing about Google now, isn't it? You just put it in and a voice comes back and tells you how to pronounce it. So yeah, I think it works both ways. I hope that helps with the tattoo question.
Just be yourself.
I think so. And do you know what? I think teaching is a wonderful profession for many reasons. But I think one of the wonderful things about it is that I think it, you know, in at least a good school, you're allowed to be you, and it's important to bring your personality in. And actually, that's great for all the children and students we're working with. You know, it's the diversity of the culture we live in, and it's in every sense. And I personally don't think that's a bad thing.
You know, as long as the tattoos aren't in any way offensive.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. In which case, they'd probably be being covered up anyway. Like, I don't think you'd be walking around your school with tattoos that are, you know, they were offensive in any way already. So yeah.
Was it Amy Winehouse used to like cover? She used to cover her topless ladies up with and drew bikinis on them.
Yeah,
So, do you know that?
I didn't know that. I love it.
Fun fact for you. Okay. Oh gosh, on to the last question. Oh, it's 7:20. Right. Okay. One last question. 2 years ago, I had a really bad problem with my line manager. The union got involved. I raised a grievance. But in the end, my line manager ended up leaving before it was actually resolved. I felt supported by the school on the whole, but the deputy head made me feel as if I was making a fuss. And I got the impression that because she was good friends with my old line manager, she couldn't see her for what she was. Now a job has come up. It's pastoral, a brand new role, and it would be working with this deputy head. Do I apply for it? Will the grievance count against me as it was never resolved? My line manager never made a grievance against me, but I know that she would have been critical about me when they were investigating her.
Oh no, I feel like that for this person. So my short answer is yes, apply.
Yeah.
I would say, and the reason I'd say that is, one, you know, grievances in place, and again, I'm not an employment lawyer, but grievances are in place to make sure that if things aren't right, we do have a route, you know, beyond just the this isn't right chat in the corridor or office. Grievances allow you to take them further and to have them seriously heard, and that's for good reason. Maybe your line manager did say things to the deputy head, and hopefully not, but maybe the deputy head does have a negative view, but we don't know that for sure. And actually, if this person's a good leader, they're going to look to get the best person in that role as possible. And if it's you, then it should be you. You know, it was a pastoral role, did you mention?
Yeah, it's a pastoral, brand new role, so it's not been done by anybody before.
So, you know, I mean, every role's important in school, but pastoral roles carry a lot with them. So my feeling is go for it. And then I go back, and if you don't get the job, don't assume it's because the deputy head had a thing against you or didn't like you. but get that quality feedback. Ask why, and if it's vague, ask for specifics, just so that you can do better in the future, because feedback ultimately is a gift, and it's a gift to help us do better. And it will also help you see that there might have been, you know, when I say might, I hope there would have been real reasons for why you didn't get the job this time. And that will stop that little gremlin that could appear afterwards going, she just didn't like me and she didn't give it to me. Actually, no, it's because I didn't have this and the other person does, and I can see that. So yeah, tough situation, really tough situation, but I would say apply.
And I think that sometimes we perceive people's reactions to us as being completely different to what that person intends. And although you might have felt that this person thought you were wasting people's time or making a fuss about nothing, that isn't necessarily how they actually felt. And when something is being investigated, it's really, really important that you don't seem biased. And so perhaps it was just that the deputy head was trying to keep like detached from it, and what you read as thinking you're making a bit of a fuss was actually just her trying to be detached, especially because you think she was friends with your line manager. And you know, it might actually turn out that she was really disappointed in the line manager for what happened. And you know, there's try to always think positively and expect the best out of people. I know this sounds like I'm contradicting what I said before about the school where everyone got over promoted, but I'm not. Like, generally be positive and hope that actually your what happened in the past, that was 2 years ago. Like, that in school terms, that's forever. Yeah. So don't worry about that. Look to the future. Good luck with the job application. I really hope that you apply for it, and just see the grievance as something that happened a long time ago, and it's nothing. And especially because you haven't got a history of raising grievances, you've not said like, and I also raised a grievance against this person and this person, this person. It happened once. You had an unfortunate experience with your line manager. You went through the right channels. You got your union involved. You raised a grievance. Like, you didn't just like kick off about it and have a row in the staff room. Like, it happened. Yeah. So.
And I think you make that really good point, Gonya, about, you know, not letting those kind of narratives start to take over. We tell ourselves stories, don't we? We fill in the blanks for the information we don't know. And that's why it's great, as you said there, you know, look at it from the other side, think of it from many angles. And a lot's happened in that time, not least a pandemic. So it's a long time ago now, and you would have shown a lot of good things in the interim period. You know, not saying that you didn't before, but they would have seen who you are. They know the quality of your work. If there haven't been any other issues, I think you're as strong as anyone going in, if not stronger.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Sonia. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you. What a nice way to spend a bit of Sunday evening. Thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely. I hope it's helped.
Yes, I'm sure. And everybody who sent in questions, please do let us know how things turned out, because we'd like to know. And we'll be doing some more of these, and I hope Sonia, you might join me again.
I'd love to.
Lovely. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a lovely